Joining me now, Mark Thiessen, fellow at the American Enterprise Institute and former Bush speechwriter, President George W. Bush. He's the man who broke the specific news about this briefing on September 10th. Also, Simon Rosenberg. He is the president and founder of an advocacy group called NDN, and he's the former campaign advisor to Bill Clinton. Gentlemen, welcome back.
Sure.
So, you know, Catherine has broken this news. It is a secret cable, is a classified cable, but she's our chief intelligence correspondent, and she's done great reporting on this story and many others. So, you know, she says, Mark, that they were warning. I mean, that they were saying we need extra help. They were saying that the Libyan mission cannot be trusted. They were saying that the al-Qaeda-related groups are becoming more brazen. The militant groups are becoming more brazen, and that they have little fear of reprisal. And now you have confirmed with the administration that the president was briefed about 9/11 attacks the day before. Where does that leave us?
Well, the question becomes, what was he briefed on about Libya in that meeting? I mean, if you look at the president's public schedule at the White House website, there's nothing listed for September 10th, 2012, the day before that attack. But an NSC official confirmed to me that, in fact, he did have that briefing on 9/11 threats and mitigation efforts. So the question becomes, in light of Catherine's reporting, breaking this important news that there were multiple warnings coming through the system about the fact that al-Qaeda was swarming over Benghazi, that they had something like 10 camps in the area, that the embassy that the consulate couldn't withstand a coordinated attack. Was the president told in that September 10th meeting that about the deteriorating security situation in Benghazi? If he was not told, then what we're dealing with here is gross negligence and a massive intelligence failure. If he was told, and then he went out for weeks and blamed it on a YouTube video, what we're dealing with here is a massive cover-up. But either way, the American people have a right to know.
Simon, that becomes the question, you know, whether the president should just tell us whether this was highlighted for him by the intel community, by the State Department community. Was he made aware of this cable, of related cables, of the ambassador's pleas for more security leading up to the 9/11 anniversary, which ultimately would be the day he died?
Well, I'm going to agree with Condoleezza Rice here, who has said publicly, repeatedly, that she thinks the investigation that's going on needs to follow its course, and that all sources of intel, not just this one cable, but all the pieces of the puzzle have to be put together, because clearly mistakes were made, Megyn. I mean, no one is saying that this was well handled, well done, right? We lost a wonderful ambassador and 3 other men. Our hearts still go out to their families. Mistakes were made. There's an investigation going on. We're going to learn from this, because the idea that in some way that our government doesn't want to do everything it possibly can to protect all the people that work for them in these troubled regions of the world is ridiculous. So what can we do to improve? How do we learn from what happened to make sure this never happens again? I think that, you know, I'm with Condi Rice in this one. Let's see how the investigation goes, and then we'll know what happened.
Mark, what of that? Should we be letting the investigation play out? A bipartisan Senate panel is investigating it. The State Department is investigating it on an internal basis. So should we be letting that play out, or... I mean, the Washington Post columnist David Ignatius yesterday, day before, came out with a column saying we need answers before all that. We need answers before Tuesday.
Yep. The American people have a right to know what happened before they go in the voting booth on Tuesday. And look, we now know that on September 10th, the day before the attacks, the president had a meeting with the Principals Committee of the NSC. That's the Secretary of State, the Secretary of Defense, the CIA Director, the National Security Advisor, to go over 9/11 threats and mitigation efforts. Was Libya discussed in that meeting? Were these reports that Catherine has indicated and that other places, like the New York Times have indicated, brought up in that meeting? And was he briefed on that? Did he know about the deteriorating security situation in Benghazi? And that's important because, look, Megyn, if somebody told you that there were bands of arsonists roaming around in your neighborhood and that your house was in danger of being destroyed and then burned down, and then your house was burned down, you wouldn't blame spontaneous combustion. So if the president was warned that al-Qaeda was roaming through Benghazi and that the embassy was in danger of a coordinated attack, why did he blame a spontaneous protest for weeks? So we need to know what
he never blamed a spontaneous protest. Mark, you have to stop saying that. He never blamed a spontaneous protest. He did not, Mark. I mean, the president did not do it.
He did it repeatedly.
The President of the United States never blamed the spontaneous attacks in his statements.
He linked it to the video. He linked what happened in Benghazi to that video. Do you deny that?
But he said it was a terror attack from the first day. He never said, I mean, we've been through this every time I come on the air here.
Then why did they repeat it over and over again that it was a spontaneous protest? Why did Susan Rice 5 days after that go on to Fox Sunday shows and blame it on a spontaneous protest?
She did not blame it.
Mark called it a terrorist attack.
That's pure fiction. What she said was on the
not.
air, if we want, I've debated this 5 times in the last few weeks on this air, is that what she said was there were protests outside, but then they were taken advantage of in a military-style attack. She never said the guys climbed the fence like what happened in Cairo. There was clarity from the very beginning in this administration about what happened. What we didn't know is who and why, and that's what we're still to try to find out today.
But Simon, there's no question.
Well, yeah.
Do you deny that the president linked what happened in Benghazi to the video?
The administration did.
No, the president.
And certainly,
you deny that the president did.
No, but the idea that he blamed it for weeks. The idea what Mark said is that he blamed. I'm responding to what Mark said.
I'm asking you because I understand your argument. I really do. But when I listened to the president in the days after, there was really no question that he was linking what happened in Benghazi to the video.
Right.
There was no question that he was doing that.
What I have said, Megyn, on the show before is that I don't think it matters. And the reason why...
Okay, that's a different argument. No, but that's different. That's different than you saying he didn't make the linkage. That's what Mark is taking issue with.
What I'm saying is that it doesn't matter. And that because what happened is, and if I get to explain, is that what we knew from the beginning that it was a military-style attack. What there was clearly confusion about inside the intelligence community, the State Department, CIA, everybody, was what exactly happened. It took about 2 weeks for the intelligence consensus to settle down, right, which is pretty quick as far as these things go, as Condi Rice said, right? And so we now know what happened, and there was clearly confusing different stories coming out of the administration.
There seems to have been confusion in the intelligence community based on the admissions they've made since then. And the State Department, I don't know. The State Department said that stuff about the video didn't come from us. That was not our conclusion. They watched it unfold real time, and real time apparently concluded that this was an act of terror. In any event, look, there's still so many more questions.
Which is what the president said the day after it happened, Megyn.
I know, but there are questions. You know, Simon, that even though he used that term, there are he then declined specifically, repeatedly, to confirm in the affirmative when he was asked, was this terrorism? He kept saying we have to have an investigation, we have to let the facts play out. So you can't just say by using the term act of terror, he meant to be saying it's terrorism, because he was asked repeatedly thereafter, was this terrorism, and he wouldn't go that far. So you understand why people are confused, right? They're confused.
And 2 weeks later at the UN, he did not mention terrorism, but he talked about the YouTube video. And administration officials repeatedly went out and talked about the YouTube video. I used to write these statements in the White House. If you're not sure what's going on, you don't say things as definitively as what they said. You say, we don't know, we're still gathering information. You don't keep blaming a YouTube video.
All right.
This was a cover-up.
Got to run, because we have Michael Barone coming up. And we also really want to hear from him. Guys, thank you both so much for being here.
Good try, Mark. Thanks.
Thank you, Megyn.
Well, 5 days out, and there are already a range of voting concerns